Hezbollah has changed its tune recently. Since October 8th of last year, they have been attacking Israel daily, firing on civilians, and saying that this is part of the struggle of the Palestinian people, and they will not stop until the war in Gaza stops. Now, under the new leadership of Naim Qassem, right? He's been there for a while now, so I'm remembering his name. Yeah, it's almost 2 days. They are now agreeing to a deal where they will stop shooting and they will go back behind the uh, river and like a 29 kilometers from the Israeli border. So basically, the really nice part of this is that they will be replaced by the Lebanese army, a deal that Israel seems to be, ready to agree to. Is this a good idea? I mean, this is one of those, situations where I think we've answered whether or not this is a good idea for the past over a year, and we see to what extent it is a good idea. So we see it with Israel and its military action in Gaza. When Israel was starting the military action, doing a lot, really causing Hamas damage, not enough damage, but a lot of damage, and there was a hostage deal, which again was still capitulation on Israel's part. That hostage deal was 3 terrorists for 1 hostage. Now, for example, in Gaza, when Israel is kind of not doing as much, there's now talk of a deal where 11 hostages are going to be released in exchange for a month-long ceasefire. And I don't know if there's any terrorists. I'm guessing there are some terrorists included, but not in what I saw of it. And look, the same is true in the north. The same is true with Iran. The more pressure you put on the other side militarily, the less likely they are, or the more likely they are to capitulate and to agree to some sort of a deal. But should that be the goal of Israel? So Israel's defense minister said that he thinks Hezbollah now has about 20% of their rockets and missile stockpiles left. That is 20% too much. Zero is the number you're aiming for. So, if you're actually going to negotiate anything, that negotiation should be the starting and end point of it should be unconditional surrender, and no terrorists should be left free, and no weapons should be left on the side of the enemy. But it's also particularly worrying considering Israel has really achieved in recent months things that we haven't seen in the nearly year of the war before that. And it is going to be throwing those achievements away if it signs any sort of deal and allows Hezbollah and or Hamas and or Iran to regroup and ceasefire now and terrorism later when they're ready to do so. So, yeah, welcome to the Daily Objective. Daniel, your thoughts on this potential deal between Israel and Hezbollah?
I mean, people should take it for what it is. It's simply propaganda. So they can basically come out saying, well, we've offered peace. We are willing to, to negotiate for the end of the war, which is what everybody wants. Everybody wants the end of the war. It's similar to what Hamas has been doing by like trying to negotiate, by like offering some deals. It is really just it shouldn't be taken seriously. I mean, Naim Qassem, as I've said, he's only been here for a few days, but when he got appointed or when he got elected, I'm not sure what's the right term for getting into that position. He started it with threatening Netanyahu, with saying, well, there was a attack on Netanyahu, and next time might be different. He threatened the leader of a nation they're fighting against, and just a few days after he comes out, well, we might agree to a ceasefire, and that should be taken as like an actual serious deal. And this is, I don't want to talk too much to specifically just like international board. I want to talk to Israel because that's the only part here that really matters. And they have to realize that this is not a serious deal, or there is no such thing as a serious deal. The only end of this is a complete dismantling of Hezbollah, a complete destruction of Hezbollah, and I'm not gonna say enforcement of UN Resolution 1701. That should be completely disregarded. It's to secure Israeli border, to make sure Israeli citizens can go back in, and that no threats will be coming out of Lebanon. You know, out of Lebanon right now, and I think I had, and also I think this is what happened just today. Two separate Hezbollah rocket attacks have killed 7 people in northern Israel, which is the deadliest attack in months, basically. So yeah, that if anyone takes this seriously, they are highly not understanding what's really going on.
Yeah, and let's remember the 7 civilians who were murdered today. Hezbollah didn't do anything different today than any other day. So, uh, as far as they're concerned, these just landed in the right spots. They would be thrilled if more rockets landed, where civilians are. And of course, one of the reasons that the death toll is lower than it would otherwise be is because Israelis are refugees in their own country, and so many people in the north aren't there. 4 of the people murdered today are Thai workers who were in Israel. So yeah, this is not a situation that any country can ever accept, and Israel seems to be the only country that would accept such a situation. Although again, it's now acting differently and should continue to do so. Thank you, James, for becoming a member of the YouTube channel. That means you will have access to the first of 6 videos with Leonard Peacock. 5 videos, 5 or 6, anyway, multiple videos posted daily from today for the next few days with Leonard Peacock being asked a different question each time by a different questioner. Today it is Adam Mossoff asking a question about Israel. I don't remember exactly what the question was, but you watch it and you'll find out. There are a few more super chatters, but I do want to say that one of our regular trolls in the chat. Thank you for reminding me the name. That it's the Litani River. He says interestingly, of course, he can't just help out with a fact that would be too off-brand a comment for him. So he adds, Israel has been firing at UNIFIL peacekeepers. Well, Israel probably should fire at UNIFIL peacekeepers, but of course they haven't been doing that. Hezbollah rocket did hit UNIFIL peacekeepers. I'm sure it was an accident, because why would you? It's a friendly fire incident. Why would you target your allies in a war? But yeah, that isn't reported, not in the news, certainly not by the pro-genocide trolls in the chat who are supporting the actual attempted genocide that is, unfortunately for them, not going as well as they would like. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
I mean, just quickly, even if we just go to the latest iteration of the UN Security Resolution when it comes to Lebanon, UNIFIL forces have been there for 18 years. They have no business still being there. This should have been what their job was supposed to be, should have been completed by now. There is no reasonable justification for them still being there, and also Hezbollah being in the same place, and somehow maybe they just took different roads and they just never saw each other, so UNIFIL couldn't confront Hezbollah.
Yeah, and yeah. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, the Palestinian student stripped of her UK visa, won human rights appeal, but foreigners have no right to remain without permission. Yeah, I saw this story. It kind of caught my eye because of a Guardian headline. Actually, I have it saved. So let me find, because that was interesting. Interesting enough that I saved it, because I thought it might be a topic for a whole episode. I don't think it will be, but the title, the title is not the title that, okay, they changed the title, but it's Palestinian student stripped of UK visa after Gaza remarks wins human rights appeal. It may actually be the same title. Gaza remarks. That sounds really. Why would anybody have any issues with Gaza remarks? So these are the remarks made, I think, on October 7th, right? For 16 years, Gaza has been under blockade, and for the first time, they are actively resisting. They are not on the defense, and this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And everyone we are both in fear, but also in fear of how Israel will retaliate and how we've seen it retaliate overnight. So I guess it's October 8th, and the missiles that it's launched and the attacks. But also, we are full of pride. We are really, really full of joy of what happened. And the court decided that, I'm quoting from the article, it found that her statements could not be taken as support for Hamas or the Hamas-led attacks on October 7th. So, yeah, that is the kind of thing that a judge would only say if they are supportive of Hamas's attack on October 7th. By the way, if you express any pro-Israel views, I'm sure The Guardian, in their title, if they have to write an article about you, will say you express pro-genocide views. But again, this is an actual pro-genocide view, and it is not reported as such by The Guardian. We haven't talked about The Guardian enough recently, so but this is this is how they report such things, and yeah, it should be mentioned. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says Israel might be tossed out of the UN soon. Yes, that we did do an episode on, and as I said on that episode, I hope it happens.
Well, just on that, I hope they leave before they do that. It's always a nicer gesture to leave rather than have to be kicked out. So yeah, I mean, you have to realize like how much actions against Israel specifically have to be taken by the UN for Israel to realize, yeah, people don't want you there, and for good reasons, because they are trying to preserve dictatorships, they are trying to promote dictatorships, and they are trying to fight against free nations. So of course, Israel's fight against Hamas, Israel's fight against Hezbollah, against the Houthis, against Iran is going against the current ethos of the United Nations.
Yeah. Thank you, Ginger, for the super chat. Ginger says, please say again how we hear Leonard Peikoff's answer to Adam Mossoff and others. This is the first I've heard of it, and this is wonderful. Thank you. Well, today is day 3 of our version of 12 Days of Christmas, the 7 days of Peikoff. First day was the essay on our Substack. If you haven't read it, Daniel, if you can put the link in the chat and in the description. And then yesterday we had James Valiant interviewing him. Those are the two free pieces of content of the 7 days of Peikoff. Today, if you are a YouTube member, as you are, you can watch it on YouTube from 8 p.m. UK time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you are a member through the website, you can go on the website. You have to log in. Yeah, this is only people who are
Just
actual
a heads
members.
up, if you are on YouTube, I think we'll do a post. So basically because we cannot premiere members only videos, so there's going to be a post at exactly the time the video is made public. So if you are a member on YouTube, you'll get a notification that both the videos are live and also the post, so you'll be able to redirect. And if you are a member on the website, I think we should send out an email, so you'll get an email exactly when the page that the video is on is published. You just have to make sure you're signed in and that you are a member on the website, and you'll be able to access that.
And Paul says in the chat, Razi, you read The Guardian. You spell my name with an S. That's what most people do, but it's actually with a Z or Z in British. You read The Guardian willingly? Yes, as we say, we read it so you don't have to. And Google at this point knows that I read The Guardian. So when I open my Google app, the news recommendations are basically half of them are Guardian stuff, which which makes my job easier. So yeah, unfortunately, The Guardian should be read because it it is mainstream, way more mainstream than anything we say. We are far outside the Overton window, and that's what we're here to change. There was something, yeah, I see a lot of talking about Francesca Albanese in the chat. I can't read it all, but there was somebody said here that in 2023 she compared Israel to the Nazis. I can't find the comment, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And yeah, when Netanyahu spoke in front of a joint session of the U.S. Congress, somebody else tweeted a picture of Netanyahu speaking in front of Congress, and then a picture of Hitler, and said, "Oh, it's the same thing." And then she retweeted. That's exactly what I was thinking. So yes, this is a socialist who wants the Jews exterminated. How they um, see Hitler as a problem for them, I don't understand, because he was literally trying to do what the people they support are now trying to do. So yeah, I don't know if they mean it as a compliment from their point of view. I doubt it, but anyway, Daniel.
Well, someone in the chat also says Netanyahu equated Hamas with the Nazis. Do we dismiss him on that point? No,
Well,
there's
no, because
many.
they are, because it's the same thing. Yeah.
Well, general, I don't like comparisons to Nazis. I think it's so overused that it almost doesn't mean anything. But if there was a group to compare it to in today's world, you'd be hard to find a better comparison than the Hamas currently.
I mean, the fact that it's overused is not a reason not to use it. It's just a reason, you shouldn't overuse it yourself. And yes, if a group tells you they want to exterminate the Jews, I think that's one of the places you can compare them to the Nazis. And if somebody says, well, their economic policies are a little bit different, then fine. This could be acknowledged. But in terms of their goal, when it comes to the Jews, it is identical. It's the same thing. And as we've said, the Palestinian people are very much like Nazi Germany, with a difference that in Nazi Germany there was opposition and there were people risking their lives, people who didn't have to, in the sense that they were pure Aryans, weren't going to be exterminated or killed, risked their life to fight against this and to save Jews. And can you imagine anybody among the Palestinians doing that? I can't. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says Hitler was a left-wing socialist. Yes, he was definitely a socialist. The left-right spectrum is always highly problematic, but if it were defined objectively in big government intervention in people's lives on the left, and freedom is on the right, then Hitler belongs there with the other people we call leftists.
Yeah, I generally have a problem with some people try too hard to say like Hitler was on the left. If you define like Hitler on the left, then like everybody is on the left in like current society. There's no one actually or very little people are actually pro freedom in that sense that we would want. That's why I think it's a weird battle to fight that Hitler was on the left. Well, something coming back to the topic, something that came out from Naim Qassem is apparently he is, when it comes to his deal, he's willing to sort of concede a point that has been at a center for pretty much since October 8th, that basically any peace with Israel and Hezbollah is conditioned on Gaza ceasefire, basically saying unless Israel stops fighting in Gaza, Hezbollah will keep on fighting. And it seems like that has changed, and Hezbollah is willing to have a ceasefire, although one thing I've read is they are not going to beg for a ceasefire. They are waiting to be offered a ceasefire, and apparently they are willing to concede, or rather not be Gaza ceasefire be part of that, which I think showed a pretty nice point that basically, killing terrorists will get you a better deal. We've seen that in the past with when the first hostage deal happened. That happened after the very offensive action against Hamas. So I think the pressure sort of worked. But I think this sort of thing should be just wasted capital, and you should never actually use that, because the only way to sort of use that fact that, well, we've like pressured them into a better deal is to actually accept the deal. And that can never be right. You can never make the only solution when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to Hezbollah, or when it comes to Hamas, when it comes to Hezbollah, is again complete dissolution. Any ceasefire, any deal, any sort of negotiation is only giving in to terrorism, to their actions, to what they've committed on October 7th, what Hezbollah has committed on October 8th, what all these either terrorist groups or dictatorships are trying to do against Israel. Their only goal is to destroy. That's why Hezbollah was founded. The only reason was to get rid of the Jews from the Middle East. At least that was the start. So any sort of reality where or any sort of deal which would allow Hezbollah to basically continue existing, or even like be reintegrated or be dissolved, the people would still be there. The political party that Hezbollah is controlling, no one is really talking about that, but they are still here, and they do control large parts of the country. So sort of accepting the deal, and similar like to 2006, hoping that they would abide by it is absolutely a losing battle. You can never trust that.
Thank you, Alexis, for the super chat. Alexis says, to the trolls, Nazi or genocide, these are words that mean things. Enunciate the definition and state any fact that makes you think any group satisfies the definition. Anything else is name calling. Well, I mean, if they weren't name calling, they wouldn't be trolls. But I agree, and I don't expect them to follow that advice. But thank you. By the way, it is the last day of the month, so super chats, as always, are appreciated. But they will. These are the super chats that will help us next month. So special thanks, as is membership income from YouTube. So anybody who becomes a member today, that is going into next month's budget, and gives you access to to the videos with Peacock from today. By the way, another housekeeping point, there is no session on the Constitution today with James Valiant. We know it's the second week in a row, so we're going to make up for it by having that session on Sunday, and it's going to be at the time of the logic introduction to logic study group. But because we're doing it at that time, we will open that session up to anybody who's a member. So that's another opportunity, as with the first session, another opportunity to take part in the Constitution course and see if you would like to upgrade to a level where you get access to all of it. There was a story today in the Israeli media about the law against UNRWA, which is basically a law that disengages, in a sense, Israel from UNRWA. It doesn't, as of now, designate it a terrorist organization. And the member of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, who is behind this law, says that Israel had, that people within the Israeli government had reason to try to water it down. Now, that's not something I know about or can comment on. I wouldn't be surprised, but what I can absolutely comment on is Israel's so-called allies and obvious enemies piling on Israel over this. And it goes back to the same thing that we're talking about with the topic today, which is, if you capitulate in a war, if you show weakness, the other side will come after you. And by contrast, and we can see this also with the last few months, where Israel has been fighting in a much more aggressive way, the war on every front. We don't see much, much stronger rhetoric. We still see despicable, the same despicable stuff that we saw before. But it tells you something. There's people don't come after those who stand up for themselves. as easily as they do to those who are wishy-washy and apologetic in their defense, especially when they're right. So this is something for Israel to consider, and you know, and reverse course on some of its both diplomatic and military efforts.
Yeah, just something that I'd love to see when it comes to basically designated or basically stripping UNRWA of the special status they have, so they no longer or they will no longer be able to get tax exemptions. They will no longer um, the foreign workers will not be able to get basically visas easily. So really stripping the power of UNRWA, which we've seen has been used by Hamas, the people from Hamas work in UNRWA, the other way around. It's you don't even know where it starts. Hamas has been using UNRWA vehicles, UN vehicles. UNRWA has been Hamas has been using UNRWA buildings. So the connection is clear. So this law is absolutely necessary, or this legislation is absolutely necessary. And what I'd love to see is what I was really surprised, it actually gets bipartisan support. It's a largely popular law. When I saw it passed by like 93 votes or something against like 10, meaning the opposition is also behind it. And I think the only people who voted against it were I believe there are two Arab parties currently in Knesset. So I think they were the ones voting against that. So you mentioned them sort of watering it down. I think sort of like real unified sort of move towards that is great to see, which also ensures the higher chance of this, not getting just restored when we get the opposition into power. It does seem like this will be a final decision, and it will basically stick. Hopefully it won't be just replaced by a different organization just a few years later, or just after this conflict ends, and will instead Israel will instead make sure to provide something meaningful when it comes to Gaza, not just a different organization that will teach Gazan children to basically kill Jews.
In Defense of Anti-Semites Property Rights is the title of the reality show. So does that mean that between now and 3 minutes from now we are changing our tune completely? No, it does not. The episode of the reality show that follows today's episode of the Daily Objective is going to be, it's going to be one of those moments where, we defend the most despicable people's rights because we want to live in free countries rather than in the kind of countries that we are fighting very strongly against. Parting thoughts, Daniel?
Gaza Dalanda Est?
And thank you everybody for watching. Thanks, Daniel, for joining me. The reality show starts in a couple of minutes.